Hey everybody, welcome to Extension Monthly. I'm Jennifer Davidson, the County Coordinator with the Russell County Extension Office. We are your outreach for Alabama A&M and Auburn University here in Russell County. And today we are so pleased to be able to talk bees with you. So we have got our only local master beekeeper, Mr. Paul Berry, who's going to get into a hive here at Oxbow Meadows in Columbus, Georgia. And he's going to tell you a little bit about how to keep bees, why we should keep bees, and things that you and I can do as homeowners to help the bees in our area. Before we get to that though, I wanted to mention that we do have some upcoming events with the Extension Office. We've got a program for kids who want to learn how to sew coming up in July at the Extension Office with 4-H. And then we also have a Painting 101 workshop for kids who are interested in getting artistic and having a little bit of fun this summer. We're currently still on the river with the River Kids in Russell County with our 4-H group. And we also, for those of you who are interested in learning a little bit about nutrition, we have a diabetes cooking course that will be coming up in the month of July as well. As usual, we have our every Thursday afternoon from 2 to 6 at the Garrett Harrison Stadium. We have our Russell County Farmers Market, and that's going to be continuing all the way up until the fall. And if you miss the Thursday afternoon market, we also have Saturday mornings from 8 to noon at the Chattahoochee Brewing Company in the parking lot. We also have our farmers market attending there. So if you have any questions about any of these upcoming events, you can feel free to give us a call at the Extension Office. Our number is 334-298-6845. And we'd be happy to let you know. One more thing I forgot to mention, we also have a very interesting program coming up in August, and it's going to be on food myths. So if you've ever wondered what that means when you go in the grocery store and you see organic or you see all natural or GMO, we're going to talk about what that actually means and give you some research-based information at that program. That program is totally free, and if you're interested in learning more about it, you can give us a call. Again, our number is 334-298-6845. We look forward to hearing from you. But first, we're going to talk bees. So stay there. We'll be right back. I'm here with Paul Berry, our master beekeeper here in the Chattahoochee Valley area. Thank you, Mr. Berry, for coming on to our show.
Sure, glad to come.
We appreciate you having us. Honeybees are really, really important. Can you tell us a little bit about why they're so important to us?
Well, the most important contribution they make to us is pollination. Honeybees are the only insect that you can manipulate to pollinate certain areas. To give you an example, they take hives of honeybees out to California and put them in the almond orchards and let them pollinate the almonds. Then they move them up the coast to Maine, and then they move them across to Michigan, and then back down into the south for the wintering. But it's the only insect that we can do that with. There are other pollinators, but you can't manipulate them like you can the honeybees.
That's right. And recently we've had some problems with our honeybees.
We have. With all good intentions, beekeepers have imported bees into this country, and unfortunately along with them came pests and diseases that our bees had no immunity against. The most recent being a little mite that came from Asia called a varroa mite. And the varroa mite almost devastated the honeybees in the United States. We've begun to understand how the varroa mites work and how they live. We've developed chemicals that can kill the varroa mite without killing the bee. It's really tough to kill a bug on a bug.
I know, right? That's tricky.
So, but we've developed ways to do that, and bees are making a comeback, primarily from local backyard beekeepers.
Wonderful. Well, we're going to go ahead and get into this hive to see how this hive's going. We're here in a bee yard, and so we are appropriately suited up. When I kept bees, I had just one small hive, and I didn't have to wear a full suit, but I think with this many bees, we're just going to be better safe than sorry, right?
Good, absolutely. All right. First thing we want to do is smoke them a little bit. That just calms them down. Actually, I don't know whether it calms them down or just gives them something else to worry
I was
about.
just saying, I think they get worried they're being burned alive.
That's
probably.
right. That's right. Okay. Bees use a substance called propolis that they glue everything together with. It seals cracks and makes it difficult to get into the hive. Therefore, we have to have hive tools to do that. We'll just smoke under there a little bit, give them time to move down in the hive.
And so to become a beekeeper here in the Chattahoochee Valley, how would one go about doing that?
Well, the best way to do it is to take our course. We have a local club, the Chattahoochee Valley Beekeepers Association, and every February we teach a course in beekeeping. It's 6 weeks long, 6 consecutive Saturdays when possible, that we teach beekeeping. And we cover everything from beginning beekeeping all the way through taking your bees home with you at the end of the course. That's the best way to start an educated venture into beekeeping.
Gotcha, gotcha.
Okay, let's see how they look.
And so this is a fairly new hive?
It is, it is. This hive was just started in April. And it looks like they're not doing much up here in the top portion. You'll see that this is the foundation and the frames that we provide them that give them a pattern from which to build honeycomb. That way we can control how they build it instead of just wild comb all over the hive.
And so when you are keeping bees, you know, how often do you need to get into the hive to take a look? How often do you recommend?
It depends on the time of year, really. During the wintertime, I very seldom go into my hives at all. I keep an eye on the front entrance to see that they're coming and going. And if I see a dearth of movement on the front of the hive, then I'll go into my hive and check and see if there's something wrong.
Is that a beetle?
That's a small hive beetle.
That's a bad beetle, right?
It is, but the bees can handle that.
Okay.
I don't even worry about them too much. I squash them when I see them.
Okay.
But I don't worry about them because a healthy hive can handle all of that.
Gotcha.
Okay. Apparently this top box has just been added recently because they're not moving up into it yet. So the cluster of bees should be down here in the bottom box. And if we could patent propolis, we could probably make a fortune and substitute it for concrete and cement and glue and everything else.
So as it turns out, bee spit's really strong.
Absolutely. Okay.
All right, there we go. Now we're getting into somewhere.
All right.
We want to make sure our cameraman's safe, so you might want to
You should be good there.
put on some gloves and whatnot.
We'll just calm them down a little bit. Okay, the most important thing when handling bees is just to go slow, be gentle, don't drop the hive or bang around on the hive. In order to look at this hive, I'm going to take the first frame out so that we have room to move the other frames around in the hive. As you might, I don't know if you can see from there or not, but this hive is packed with frames. Even this outer frame is packed. And as you can see, they have all of this brown portion right here is capped honey. This is honey for their use, and you can see the wetness in these other cells. That's where they're storing honey right now, and it's not dry enough, it's not dehydrated enough for them to cap it. Once it dehydrates, all the water gets out of it, then it's honey. And that's when they'll put the cap on top of it.
How often do you extract honey out of these hives?
I do it just once a year. There are other beekeepers who extract twice a year, once in the late spring and once in the fall. I only do it in the fall.
That's what people call robbing the hives, right?
That's right. That's right.
And one great benefit of being a member of the Chattahoochee Valley Beekeepers Association is that y'all have what I would call an extraction party, right?
We do. Well, we have extraction equipment available to loan to our members.
And sometimes you have sort of a group event, right?
Yes, we do. Out here at Oxbow in July, we do what's called the insectival. The insectival includes the beekeepers extracting honey from these hives for Oxbow. These hives actually belong to Oxbow Meadows, and we maintain them for Oxbow. So at the insectivore, we'll extract all the honey. We do a public demonstration. We usually do 4 viewings. We do 4 different sessions because it's usually standing room only, and the auditorium only holds 85 people. So
well, I think that's such a good benefit, because I know I was a backyard beekeeper for a while, and for a small hobby backyard beekeeper, you probably don't want to buy all of the equipment to, the extractor, but you still want to get your honey.
Sure.
So it's a great idea to be able to, work together as a group and borrow that equipment.
Right. Plus you learn how.
Yeah, I didn't even know how to extract, so.
Now this one, you can see they're just beginning to cap the honey in this frame. So that would be a fairly new frame. I think that's probably only been added in the last week or so. And
so do these bees look pretty healthy? Can you tell if they've been infected with the mites?
No. The only way to tell that is if they develop. The mites don't actually kill the bees, but the mites cause viruses within the bees.
Okay.
So it's sort of like the mosquito and Zika virus.
Got it.
They don't kill you. The mosquito doesn't kill you, but they bite you and give you the virus, which could.
Gotcha.
Same thing with the varroa mites and the bees. When you start studying the bees, sometimes you can see the viruses because they show up as things like deformed wings.
Okay.
Or chronic paralysis. In chronic paralysis, they'll just stay in one spot and shiver. They can't move.
That's sad.
But that's a good indication that you have a problem. We like to treat our bees. I treat mine 3 times a year, regardless, because I know they have mites. All bees have mites, but that just keeps them under control. Now this is all wet honey. It has not evaporated the water out of it yet. So right now they're getting a little antsy because they want to protect
their honey. Gotcha.
They don't really want us to steal it. But down in here in some of these little cells, you can see yellow, which indicates pollen. Pollen is what they mix with honey to feed the larvae and the young bees. We also had a supersedure cell right down at the bottom where they had raised a new queen.
Yeah.
Where they could have raised a new queen.
How interesting. Now, tell to us a little bit about in the spring when the bees, when their hives get, I guess their queen gets old enough and they're able to go out and make more hives. What do people need to do if they see, what's it called again?
A swarm.
A swarm. What do they need to do when they see swarming happening?
Call a beekeeper.
Call a beekeeper. And the way you can call it, you can call the local extension office either here in Columbus or over in Phoenix City, or you can go onto the Chattahoochee Beekeepers website, and they have a list of folks' cell phone, which, Mr. Berry, you're the #1 on the list.
I guess unfortunately I am.
I guess B was alphabetical. And so you can call and let a beekeeper know they can come get that swarm and make a nice new hive
out of it. That's right.
But I will say this, if you don't do anything, more than likely those bees will just go off and make a nice home. They're not going to be dangerous at that time because they're not protecting any of their hive. So, if you're not gonna call a beekeeper, then I would recommend doing nothing, right?
Well, that's true, but the only problem with that is bees in the wild don't necessarily survive very well because of the varroa mites. We treat our bees to get rid of the varroa mites, and those that are feral in the woods don't have anybody to treat them.
You really don't see any in the woods anymore.
No, you don't.
My uncle was just saying that the other day, that he used to see bees in the woods, and now you just don't.
You just don't. This is a little bit of interest right here. These are drone cells down here at the bottom. They make the drone cells in order to create the male bee.
Useless, right?
Well, you got to have the guy. You got to have the guy.
But isn't he kind of a good for nothing?
He is. His only function is to mate with a queen.
Gotcha. But he's not a worker.
He's not. Matter of fact, he has to be fed and groomed by the worker bees.
Lord have mercy.
That's why in the fall, they all get kicked out the front door to die.
Gotcha. Okay. So when you have a beehive that's overwintering, there won't be any males in there at all?
That's correct. And in order to manipulate the hive, And by that I mean create new hives. To split a hive, you have to wait until there are drone cells so that there'll be male bees out there to mate with new queens.
Gotcha.
Okay?
I just find these social insects so fascinating.
They are incredibly complicated creatures. I'm seeing a lot of honey and very little brood.
Don't you feel like most people who think they are getting attacked or gotten bee stings are more than likely having stings by other insects
Absolutely.
that people associate with bees, but they just call them bees?
That's right.
I know my children tend to want to call anything that flies a bee.
Most people do.
And I found that really anything you're getting stung by is more than likely a yellow jacket or a wasp or hornet.
A bee will only sting for one reason, and that's they're being accosted in some fashion. When I'm going into their home, their hive, they would like to sting me. And when I grab one in my hand, she will sting me because she wants to be loose. But other than that, a bee will not attack you. A bee will not come after you, and they don't want to sting you because they die when they do.
So when they sting you, their stinger comes off into your skin, right? And
That's
then they
right.
die. So
And that pulls away
it's really not a goal.
It pulls the intestines away from the bee, so the bee dies. I'm gonna have to, haven't seen the first bit of brood. I do believe this hive is queenless.
Oh no. And so what will happen with a queenless hive?
They'll die.
Okay.
Let me put them back together. Haven't seen any brood at all, which means that the queen's not laying. She's either too young to lay or there's not a queen in here. And we'll have to do a little research on this hive over the next few days. Now, if you stand right here, you can smell the alarm pheromone. Can you smell that?
I can.
Okay.
Actually, that's what I associate as the smell of bees.
Right. Well, that's not actually the smell of bees, it's the smell of angry bees.
Oh, goodness.
They release a pheromone, an odor, that's called, we call it an alarm pheromone. And it attracts the other bees and tells them that they're attacking something, that there's something bothering their hive.
Well, Mr. Berry, we're going to take a break right now. I want to thank you so much for being here, and I want to thank you all for watching us. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Are you tired of looking at ugly floors? Is it time to replace your worn-out carpet? Floorworks can install your dream floor to fit your budget, and we guarantee to beat a big box store price. Call Floorworks today for an estimate on your next carpet, tile, hardwood, vinyl, or laminate purchase. Financing is available. Visit our showroom to see all the options we offer at 3521 Somerville Road. Floorworks.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm Tim Herring from the Extension Office, and right now we're going to have Mr. Berry go over the parts of the hive with us.
Okay.
Lead the way, Mr. Berry?
I will, Tim. We went through this hive earlier. This is a hive in the process of building. We're not trying to get any honey off this hive yet. We're just trying to build it up so that the bees will be strong. The way we usually build a hive is we take two of these deep bodies right here that we call brood chambers. And we let them build up the bottom one, and then we add another one and let them build up the top one. Once those two bodies are full of bees and full of wax and comb and baby bees and honey, then we will add a honey super if there's enough time left in the productive time of year. Right now it's gotten a little too late. The honey flow, which is what we call the availability of nectar, is only about 4 or 5 weeks away, the end of that. So there's not enough time for them to build enough honey for us to steal from them.
About how long does the building process take?
It can take, depending on the strength of the hive, anywhere from 2 weeks to 2 months, just depending on the strength of the bees and the quality of the queen. The queen, of course, is the reason that there are baby bees, and the more she can lay, the stronger the hive gets. Now, once we've built a hive and it's good and strong, then we start adding honey supers. And we can look at this hive over here, and you'll see that it's quite a bit taller than the other hives, or these hives. And that's because it's an established hive. We've had this hive for 2 or 3 years. They're plenty strong, so we started adding honey supers, which is what this small box is called. You'll see that this is a very deep box. That's the brood chamber. And then these are narrower boxes. Those are the honey supers. What we do is we allow them to fill up their chamber with all the honey they'll need to get them through the winter. But bees are very active workers, and they make more honey than they can use. So that's what we take advantage of, and put boxes on the hive that they can build honey in that's in excess of what they need. So that's where we get our honey. Now, right now, the beekeeper that's taking care of this hive has a ventilation box on top. It has screened holes on the side. There's nothing in here except just ventilating the hive, giving the hive some fresh air. This is a honey super, that is, and that is. So hopefully he did not add honey supers until each was full. You wait until this one is full, then you add another box. Then when this one's full, you add another box. That way we can take advantage of having all the honey consolidated in one box rather than spread throughout the hive. Okay? In order to calm them down a little bit, we're going to blow a little smoke on them.
And is that just regular smoke, or is there some type of...
I use pine wood chips, and it's just regular smoke. You want a cool smoke, but you want a very visible smoke, because that's what they smell. And that's what either calms them down or gives them something else to worry about. Okay? Now, we'll go into this hive and look. Since this is a ventilation chamber, there's really nothing in it except holes on the side that are screened to provide extra ventilation for this hive. We also have a ventilation cover on top. We call it the inner cover. And as I told Jennifer, bees glue everything down. So you always have to pry the hive apart in order to get to it. Now, this would be our first time. You smell an alarm pheromone like crazy. One just stung me through my suit here on the side. But that's okay. I'm doing something they don't like. Okay, let's take a look at this super and see if they're building any honey. Nothing so far. All right, here we go. They can make it really hard to get these out. And they're also really angry with me. This just settles them down, makes them a little less feisty. That little girl is trying to sting me through my glove. Okay. Now then.
There's a nice bit of comb there.
That's pure honey. And it's been kept. Once it's dehydrated, they cap it. They put caps on it. And that's what we extract honey from. Okay? If you didn't have gloves on, I'd tell you to stick your finger in it and put it in your mouth. It's really good honey. But they're in the process of filling this super up. And we're going to let them go back to that. But these things that I'm pulling out are called frames. And in the frame we put a foundation, which is just a pattern for them to follow. I showed that in the other hive. It's just either a piece of plastic or a piece of wax that gives them the pattern to follow. If you didn't do that, they'd build honeycomb and brood comb all over the box in all different directions. It'd be impossible to take it apart.
And how long does a frame last? Do you have to change them out from time to time?
We do. We like to give them, the frames we give about 5 years, if they last that long. I date all of my frames when I put them in my hive so that I'll know when to take them out and throw them away and add a new frame. Okay?
All right. Well, thank you very much, Ms. Berry, for taking your time with us.
You're certainly welcome, Tim. Thank you.
Thank you all for watching, and I hope you have a good rest of your night.